Welcome to the Bible Book Club. Now, some of you have asked if you can give to the podcast, and for the first time ever, the answer is yes. Bible Book Club is officially a nonprofit, and you can give to it. So, what are you giving to? Well, we're rather simple in our structure. Heather, Buck, Haley, and I do this in our free time. That means all of your gifts will be used to reach new listeners. Currently, the podcast has grown by word of mouth and just $1,000 a month of personal funds used to reach new listeners through digital ads. But think about how much we could grow the podcast in 2025 if you gave and we doubled or tripled that monthly spend. Ponder the math and consider giving today so that we can reach more listeners like you. We will put the link to donate in the show notes. Thank you for listening and giving.
This is the Bible Book Club,
the book of 2 Chronicles.
Welcome to the club. Last episode, we began chapter 10 with the division of the kingdom of Israel. Solomon's son Rehoboam was not popular because he oppressed the people. At his coronation, the 10 northern tribes rejected him as king and made Jeroboam their king instead. By chapter 11, there are 2 kingdoms, and only one is important to the chronicler, the kingdom of Judah in the south, for this is the line of kings starting with Rehoboam, and it's the promise of the Davidic line. Rehoboam created the conflict that led to the divide, and that is what he will be remembered for, unfortunately, despite a few redeeming acts.
Okay, so remember, the chronicler's purpose in writing is to tell the exiles the story of their past so they can have hope for their future. In this episode, he's telling stories of the first kings of Judah, and he provides more detail than the author of the books of Kings, because each king is a character study packed with lessons for the Israelites and us to learn. Scene 1, Abijah, king of Judah. Abijah is the 4th king in the line of David. He is David's great-grandson.
2 Chronicles chapter 13. In the 18th year of the reign of Jeroboam, Abijah became king of Judah, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 years. His mother's name was Maacah, a daughter of Uriel of Gibeah. There was a war between Abijah and Jeroboam. Abijah went into battle with an army of 400,000 able fighting men, and Jeroboam drew up a battle line against him with 800,000 able troops.
So, poor guy, he must have been challenged by Jeroboam, the king of Israel, shortly after becoming king, because he only reigned as king for 3 years. So this was a massive showdown between Israel and Judah, with the odds 2-1 against Judah. It was 800,000 men to 400,000 men.
Verse 4. Abijah stood on Mount Zemaraim in the hill country of Ephraim and said, Jeroboam and all Israel, listen to me. Don't you know that the Lord, the God of Israel, has given the kingship of Israel to David and his descendants forever by a covenant of salt? Yet Jeroboam, son of Nebat, an official of Solomon, son of David, rebelled against his master. Some worthless scoundrels gathered around him and opposed Rehoboam, son of Solomon, when he was young and indecisive and not strong enough to resist them. And now you plan to resist the kingdom of the Lord, which is in the hands of David's descendants. You are indeed a vast army and have with you the golden calves that Jeroboam made to be your gods. But didn't you drive out the priests of the Lord, the sons of Aaron and the Levites, and make priests of your own as the peoples of other lands do? Whoever comes to consecrate himself with a young bull and 7 rams may become a priest of what are not gods. As for us, the Lord is our God, and we have not forsaken him. The priests who serve the Lord are sons of Aaron, and the Levites assist them. Every morning and evening, they present burnt offerings and fragrant incense to the Lord. They set out the bread on the ceremonially clean table and light the lamps on the gold lampstand every evening. We are observing the requirements of the Lord our God, but you have forsaken him. God is with us. He is our leader. His priests and their trumpets will sound the battle cry against you. People of Israel, do not fight against the Lord, the God of your ancestors, for you will not succeed.
So Abijah, king of Judah, climbs Mount Zemaraim and delivers a fiery speech. First, calling out Jeroboam for rebelling against God's chosen line of David and for leading Israel into idolatry with golden calves. Then he declares Judah's faithfulness in worship and in following the law. Judah's still worshiping the true God with proper priests while Israel's gone rogue. Lastly, he appealed to the men of Israel to desist, for they would not win against God. Abijah's speech was a bold move, considering he had half the number of men, but his confidence was in the Lord. Little did Abijah know that while he was talking, Jeroboam was surrounding him.
Verse 13. Now Jeroboam had sent troops around the rear so that while he was in front of Judah, the ambush was behind them. Judah turned and saw that they were being attacked at both front and rear. Then they cried out to the Lord. The priests blew their trumpets and the men of Judah raised the battle cry. At the sound of their battle cry, God routed Jeroboam and all Israel before Abijah and Judah. The Israelites fled before Judah, and God delivered them into their hands. Abijah and his troops inflicted heavy losses on them, so that there were 500,000 casualties among Israelites' able men. The Israelites were subdued on that occasion, and the people of Judah were victorious because they relied on the Lord, the God of their ancestors. Abijah pursued Jeroboam and took from him the towns of Bethel, Jeshanah, and Ephron with their surrounding villages. Jeroboam did not regain power during the time of Abijah, and the Lord struck him down and he died.
The men of Judah turn and they see that they're in trouble. There were Israelites before them and behind them. They cry out to God. The priests add to the cry with trumpets, and God comes to the rescue. Because they relied on the Lord responded. The Israelites run and Judah pursues them, inflicting 500,000 casualties. Over half the Israelite army is lost. It was a crushing defeat, a spiritual confidence boost to Judah, and a warning to Israel. Jeroboam never regained power, and from the chronicler's point of view, nothing much came of the rest of his reign. The chronicler makes it sound like he died right away. He actually outlived Abijah by a couple years. Scene 2, Abijah's blessings.
Verse 21, but Abijah grew in strength. He married 14 wives and had 22 sons and 16 daughters. The other events of Abijah's reign, what he did and what he said, are written in the annotations of the prophet Iddo.
Abijah was blessed with a large family and a nation that grew in strength. Since Abijah reigned only 3 years, he must have already had most of his 14 wives and 22 sons when he ascended the throne in his late 30s. He had probably started marrying and having kids like in his late teens, actually. Now note, the chronicler makes Abijah sound like a good king, highlighting this battle account, which was one of his shining moments of faith. 1 Kings 15 takes a different view of the life and reign of Abijah and dismisses him as an unfaithful king, stating this.
In 1 Kings 15, verse 3, Abijah committed all the sins his father had done before him. His heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his forefather had been. Nevertheless, for David's sake, the Lord his God gave him a lamp in Jerusalem by raising up a son to succeed him by making Jerusalem strong.
And this is one of the nuances between Chronicles and Kings. Kings really just focused on they did evil inside of the Lord or they didn't do evil inside of the Lord. Where the chronicler really wants to pull out the good and bad stories as examples, whether you are a good or bad king or not.
When you're good, good things happen. When you're bad, bad things happen.
Yeah. And some of the kings that weren't necessarily faithful to God still have some good stories. And that's what you're saying. Abijah was not faithful to the Lord, but he did have that good one
the
speech.
Blessing
the
of
one
his
speech.
Family line.
Yeah, that one. He had that one good fiery speech. All right. Scene 2, Asa, king of Judah, who actually was a good king. In the books of Kings, season 11 and 12 of Bible Book Club, we learned that there were many kings between the northern and southern kingdoms, 42 to be exact. However, after David, there were only 4 good kings, all from Judah, who did not slip into idolatry: Asa, Jehoshaphat, Hezekiah, and Josiah. There were 5 others that did some good, but later followed other gods, including Solomon, Joash, Amaziah, Uzziah, and Jotham. Of all 42 kings, only 10 were faithful or mostly faithful. All the rest did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Asa is one of the good kings. He is the 5th king in the line of David.
2 Chronicles chapter 14. And Abijah rested with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David. Asa, his son, succeeded him as king, and in his days the country was at peace for 10 years. Asa did what was good and right in the eyes of the Lord his God. He removed the foreign altars in the high places, smashed the sacred stones, and cut down the Asherah poles. He commanded Judah to seek the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and to obey his laws and commands. He removed the high places and incense altars in every town in Judah, and the kingdom was at peace under him. He built up the fortified cities of Judah, since the land was at peace. No one was at war with him during those years, for the Lord gave him rest. Let us build up these towns, he said to Judah, and put walls around them with towers, gates, and bars. The land is still ours because we have sought the Lord our God. We sought him, and he has given us rest on every side. So they built and prospered.
Asa did what was good and right in the eyes of the Lord. Note that because you're not going to hear it very much. He started out strong by cleaning house, smashing idols, tearing down pagan altars, and urging Judah to seek God. Then he turned toward the fortification of Judah, building up towns, walls, towers, and gates. His faithfulness to God and his diligence in protecting the country led to a season of peace. Scene 3. Asa chooses to seek the Lord. The chronicler has built King Asa's story around 2 battles. In the first, Asa calls on the Lord and receives a blessing. In the second, Asa fails to call on the Lord and receives a consequence. So remember, even though he's a good king, just like David, he does make mistakes.
Don't we all? Verse 8, Asa had an army of 300,000 men from Judah, equipped with large shields and with spears, and 280,000 from Benjamin, armed with small shields and with bows. All these were brave fighting men. Zerah the Cushite marched out against them with an army of thousands upon thousands and 300 chariots, and came as far as Mareshah. Asa went out to meet him, and they took up battle positions in the valley of Zaphathah near Mareshah.
Cush is in Ethiopia. Now, in this battle, as in the last, the odds are against Judah. 380,000 against thousands upon thousands. Now, most commentaries agree that this is the largest number ever implied in the Bible. According to Josephus, a Roman Jewish historian and military leader of the first century, this army consisted of 900,000 foot soldiers and 100,000 horsemen. Therefore, most believe that this Ethiopian army was about 1 million strong.
Wow. Verse 11, Then Asa called to the Lord his God and said, Lord, there is no one like you to help the powerless against the mighty. Help us, Lord our God, for we rely on you. And in your name, we have come against this vast army. Lord, you are our God. Do not let mere mortals prevail against you. The Lord struck down the Cushites before Asa and Judah. The Cushites fled, and Asa and his army pursued them as far as Gerar. Such a great number of Cushites fell that they could not recover. They were crushed before the Lord and his forces. The men of Judah carried off a large amount of plunder. They destroyed all the villages around Gerar, for the terror of the Lord had fallen on them. They looted all these villages, since there was much plunder there. They also attacked the camps of the herders and carried off droves of sheep and goats and camels. Then they returned to Jerusalem.
So with 1 million strong warriors pressing in on them, Asa prays boldly, and God delivers an impressive victory. The results provided proof to God's people that no enemy was too big for God. And the chronicler hopes it is clear to the returned exiles. When the people are faithful to God, God is faithful to them, and no army is too big for the Lord. After this battle, Asa was blessed with another season of peace. Scene 4. Asa's test prep comes in the form of encouragement from God. After a victory, there always seems to come a test. In this story, Asa receives encouragement from a prophet, which he needed for what was coming.
2 Chronicles chapter 15. The Spirit of God came on Azariah, son of Oded. He went out to meet Asa and said to him, Listen to me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin. The Lord is with you when you are with him. If you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. For a long time, Israel was without the true God, without a priest to teach and without the law. But in their distress, they turned to the Lord, the God of Israel, and sought him, and he was found by them. In those days, it was not safe to travel about, for all the inhabitants of the land were in great turmoil. One nation was being crushed by another and one city by another because God was troubling them with every kind of distress. But as for you, be strong and do not give up, for your work will be rewarded. When Asa heard these words and the prophecy of Azariah, son of Oded the prophet, he took courage. He removed the detestable idols from the whole land of Judah and Benjamin and from the towns he had captured in the hills of Ephraim. He repaired the altar of the Lord that was in front of the portico of the Lord's temple. Then he assembled all Judah and Benjamin and the people of Ephraim, Manasseh, and Simeon, who had settled among them, for large numbers had come over to him from Israel when they saw that the Lord his God was with him. They assembled at Jerusalem in the 3rd month of the 15th year of Asa's reign. At that time they sacrificed to the Lord 700 head of cattle and 7,000 sheep and goats from the plunder they had brought back. They entered into a covenant to seek the Lord, the God of their ancestors, with all their heart and soul. All who would not seek the Lord, the God of Israel, were to be put to death, whether small or great, man or woman. They took an oath to the Lord with loud acclamation, with shouting, and with trumpets and horns. All Judah rejoiced about the oath because they had sworn it wholeheartedly. They sought God eagerly, and he was found by them. So the Lord gave them rest on every side. King Asa also deposed his grandmother, Maacah, from her position as queen mother because she had made a repulsive image for worship of the Asherah. Asa cut it down, broke it up, and burned it in the Kidron Valley. Although he did not remove the high places from Israel, Asa's heart was fully committed to the Lord all his life. He brought into the temple of God the silver and gold and the articles that he and his father had dedicated. There was no more war until the 35th year of Asa's reign.
Okay, in the last few chapters, the key word has been sought. Solomon sought wisdom. His son Rehoboam sought the advice of his advisors. Now here we have Asa who fails to seek the Lord, but in this part, he called everybody to seek God. So keep that in mind. Seeking is the key word here. So this prophet arrives on the scene, and his name is Azariah. Now, this is Azariah the prophet, not Azariah the king, who we will meet in a few hundred years, so don't get them confused. Azariah encourages Asa to stay faithful. Why does he need encouragement? Is something bad about to happen? Is there a test or trial coming? After many Old Testament stories about prophets, I would have been suspicious. God doesn't send a prophet without a reason. Well, Asa responds well and leads Judah in a nationwide covenant renewal to seek God wholeheartedly, generating a spiritual reset for the country and a national purging of all idolatry. He even deposed his grandmother, Maacah, as queen mother. Now, this is a big deal to oppose her because the queen mother was the leading lady and took precedence over all the women in the harem, which of course gave them a lot of religious influence over all the wives. So that's why it was so bad that she was doing this. Normally, the queen mother kept the position until she died, but Maacah made these repulsive idols to the god Asherah. Now, Asherah poles are mentioned a lot in the Old Testament. We've talked about him. Asherah was a goddess and wife of Canaanite supreme god El. Apparently, she was the mother of 75 divine offspring, including another prominent Old Testament Canaanite god, Baal. She was associated with fertility and motherhood. Asa took his grandmother down. He was fearless for the Lord and faithful to the Lord. The result was no more war until the 35th year of Asa's reign, when the test came. Scene 5. Asa slips and chooses not to seek the Lord.
2 Chronicles chapter 16. In the 36th year of Asa's reign, Baasha, king of Israel, went up against Judah and fortified Ramah to prevent anyone from leaving or entering the territory of Asa, king of Judah.
So the test to trust God came in the form of an attack on Judah. Baasha, the king of Israel, began building up Ramah. Now, Ramah was of immense strategic importance to both King Baasha of Israel and King Asa of Judah due to its geographical location. It was a key city in the territory of Benjamin, situated only 5 or 6 miles north of Jerusalem. Now, King Baasha was creating a blockade in Ramah that would cut off trade and supplies to Judah. Asa took action. But this time, the action did not include calling upon the Lord, which is rather short-sighted because in the last battle, Asa chose to seek God and had incredible success. God defeated 1,000,000 Cushites on Judah's behalf. How could Asa forget such a huge victory from God, even if it had happened years ago? But this is not the first time a faithful follower has become forgetful, which is a warning to us. Sometimes what threatens our faith most is time. When all is good, our faith grows weak. We so easily forget what God has done for us. God provides knowledge and understanding through lessons and experiences. These experiences must be remembered. They are faith-building milestones. If we carefully stack them, one on top of the other in our memory, each stone will build and strengthen our faith like a wall around our heart for the Lord that protects us from the attack of the enemy.
So you're saying we should spend more time with our families sitting around talking about these stories so we won't forget them.
Pass them on to your children, or like they did, create a little stone altar in your garden and look at it and go, that was for that. You could write them on the rocks, I don't know.
Continuing in chapter 16, verse 2. Asa then took the silver and gold out of the treasuries of the Lord's temple and of his own palace and sent it to Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, who was ruling in Damascus. Let there be a treaty between me and you, he said, as there was between my father and your father. See, I am sending you silver and gold. Now break your treaty with Baasha, king of Israel, so he will withdraw from me. Ben-Hadad agreed with King Asa and sent commanders of his forces against the towns of Israel. They conquered Ijon, Dan, Abel-Meam, and all the store cities of Naphtali. When Baasha heard this, he stopped building Ramah and abandoned his work. Then King Asa brought all the men of Judah, and they carried away from Ramah the stones and timber Baasha had been using. With them, he built up Geba and Mizpah.
Asa forgot. He forgot God, which is so ironic, as he did not forget about the gold in God's temple. So instead of going to the temple to seek God, Asa went to the temple to seek gold. Then Asa used the gold to bribe Ben-Hadad to make a treaty with Judah. The treaty worked like this. Asa paid Ben-Hadad all the silver and gold in the Lord's temple to harass and attack Israel in the north, which bordered Aram. King Baasha of Israel could not defend his northern borders and the southern border with Judah. He had to withdraw from Judah to focus on defending Israel against Aram. If Aram won, Israel would lose access to trade through Damascus. And of course, Damascus was super important in ancient history at this time. It was the intersection of the two most important highways for trade. The International Coastal Highway, which ran from Egypt along the Mediterranean coast until it crossed over to Mesopotamia in the east, and the King's Highway, which carried riches all the way from the south of Arabia directly north. Scene 6. Asa's slip leads to a spiritual decline. Asa had the encouragement prophet, and now he gets a visit from the consequence prophet.
Verse 7. At that time, Hanani the seer came to Asa, king of Judah, and said to him, because you relied on the king of Aram and not on the Lord your God, the army of the king of Aram has escaped from your hand. Were not the Cushites and Libyans a mighty army with great numbers of chariots and horsemen? Yet, when you relied on the Lord, he delivered them into your hand. For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. You have done a foolish thing, and from now on you will be at war.
Hanani the prophet is clear. First, Asa is being judged because he relied on the king of Aram instead of seeking God for direction. Second, there is no excuse after the victories God gave him over the Cushites and Libyans. Third, he has done a foolish thing and will live with war from now on. There is no escaping God. His eyes range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed. I love that verse. Here are John Piper's thoughts on this verse. God is not a scout looking for the first draft choices to help his team win. He is an unstoppable fullback ready to take the ball and run touchdowns for anyone who trusts him to win the game. but we must seek him, call on him to carry the ball, versus running foolishly all over the field and never making it to the goal. Well, Asa's response is pitiful.
Verse 10. Asa was angry with the seer because of this. He was so enraged that he put him in prison. At the same time, Asa brutally oppressed some of the people.
I'm picturing a temper tantrum. Hannah and I delivered a scorching setdown. Asa had been foolish. Now, a failing grade is always difficult to receive. David is one of the only Old Testament characters to excel at this. His heart was so committed to the Lord that it was pierced with conviction when confronted by his sin. He humbly asked God for forgiveness twice, after the affair with Bathsheba and after the census plague. Asa could have followed the example of his great-great-great-grandfather. Certainly, if God could forgive David of an affair and murder, he could forgive Asa. But Asa had slipped in his faith, and his pride made him angry instead of humble. And he took his anger out on the prophet and the people, which is so foolish, even more foolish.
Verse 11, the events of Asa's reign from beginning to end are written in the books of the kings of Judah and Israel. In the 39th year of his reign, Asa was afflicted with a disease in his feet. Though his disease was severe, even in his illness, he did not seek help from the Lord, but only from the physicians. Then, in the 41st year of his reign, Asa died and rested with his ancestors. They buried him in the tomb that he had cut out for himself in the city of David. They laid him in a bier covered with spices and various blended perfumes, and they made a huge fire in his honor.
At the end of his reign, Asa was plagued with disease. Perhaps this was another chance to seek God for healing. But Asa stubbornly refused, turning instead to physicians. Now, the author's not saying that he shouldn't have seen physicians. He's simply pointing out that he could have also prayed for healing. Despite Asa's slip, Asa's reign on the whole was a good one. It was 41 years long, and a huge fire was burned in his honor. According to 1 Kings 15, Asa did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, as his father David had. This does not mean he didn't make mistakes. This means that he didn't worship idols and worked hard as king to remove them from Israel. Like David, Asa made mistakes. And like David, he received consequences. However, he did not receive his consequences with David's conviction. And that is where the comparison ends, with Asa's lack of humility. In the beginning, Asa fought the good fight for God, choosing to seek God in all things. In the end, he slipped a bit, choosing to not seek God. One question for us to ponder is this: who do you seek for answers? Google, Grok, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, or ChatGPT? We have so many advisors to choose from. All right, listen to this. This is interesting. In a different letter to the exiles, not from our chronicler, but from Jeremiah, which was sent from Jerusalem to all those still in captivity in Babylon, it says this.
Jeremiah chapter 12, starting in verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart.
Seek, seek, seek. We've heard it so many times in these last few lessons. God says the same to us today. I have plans for you, Bible Book Club listeners, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future, just as I did for the exiles. Call on me, pray to me, and I will listen to you. Seek me and you will find me if you seek with all your heart.
We've got merch. Great news. Bible Book Club sweatshirts are here, and they're only available while supplies last. So if you want to snag yours, go to BibleBookClubPodcast.com/store. They're only going to be available while supplies last, so hurry and get yours. And if you're enjoying the Bible Book Club, why don't you share it? And then you and all your friends can listen and discuss. New episodes drop every Monday.